November 6, 1944. The western edge of the Hürtgen Forest. Just east of the Belgian border, near the village of WWII, low cloud presses against the treetops. The temperature hovers just above freezing. The forest floor is soaked, churned into mud by weeks of shellfire and rain. Visibility is measured in yards, not miles. Sound carries poorly here. Orders arrive late. Help arrives later if it arrives at all. By early November, the Battle of the Hürtgen Forest has already been underway for more than 2 months. It is the longest single battle fought by the United States Army in World War II, and one of the least understood. Dense woodland, steep ravines, and narrow trails negate American advantages in mobility and air support. Artillery bursts in the treetops, spraying steel downward. Mines lie beneath leaves. German defensive lines are layered, patient, and invisible. The American objective is simple on paper: push through the forest, secure the dams on the Row River, and deny the Germans the ability to flood the lowlands ahead of the Allied advance. In practice, every 100 yards costs blood. On this morning, a small American outpost 9 occupies a shallow defensive position along a narrow forest trail. It is not a named strong point. It does not appear on most maps. It exists because the terrain demands it. Someone has to watch this trail. Someone has to hold it. The men belong to a rifle company of the 28th Infantry Division, the Pennsylvania National Guard. They are not elite troops. Many were mobilized only a year earlier. Their division, Patch Red Keystone, has already become known in the forest for both endurance and loss. Their weapons are standard issue M1 Gorin rifles, each holding 8 rounds of .30-06. 1 bar, the Browning automatic rifle, heavy and difficult to maneuver between trees, but capable of sustained fire. A few grenades, limited ammunition, no radio. Communication is by runner, if the trail remains open. They have been told German patrols are active in the area. They have not been told that elements of multiple German infantry battalions are moving through the same sector, reinforcing defenses ahead of an anticipated American push. As dawn breaks, the forest remains unnaturally quiet. The first sign comes not as sound, but as movement shadows between trunks, boots compressing wet leaves. The Americans do not fire immediately. Doctrine demands confirmation. Firing too early reveals position. Firing too late invites encirclement. The Germans appear in numbers that quickly exceed anything the outpost was meant to handle. Squad after squad moves down the trail and through adjacent undergrowth. Not a single massed formation, but a steady, deliberate flow. These are not panicked troops. These are veterans of the Eastern Front in France, rotating into defensive positions inside the forest. From their shallow positions, the Americans can see only fragments of the force, but experience tells them what this means. This is not a patrol, this is movement at scale. When the first shots break the silence, they come from close range. The opening volley drops several German soldiers instantly. German troops scatter, diving behind trees, returning fire almost at once. The forest absorbs the noise, but muzzle flashes betray positions. The bar opens up, its recoil hammering into the shoulder of the man firing it, its rounds chewing bark and flesh alike. The Germans respond with discipline. Machine pistols rake the underbrush. Rifle grenades explode against trees, showering splinters. The Americans shift positions constantly, crawling, dragging ammunition, shouting warnings over gunfire. Within minutes, they understand the truth. They are not facing dozens of enemy soldiers. They are facing a force that, across this stretch of forest, numbers in the thousands. The outpost is no longer a listening post. It is a roadblock. German officers attempt to probe the position, sending small groups forward, trying to identify the source of resistance. Each time, they are met with controlled, accurate fire. The Americans do not spray ammunition. Every shot is aimed. Every grenade is thrown only when a target presents itself. The terrain works in their favor. The narrow trail funnels movement. Dense growth limits flanking maneuvers. Mines laid earlier by American engineers poorly mapped, but still, deadly detonate under German boots. Ammunition runs low. One man is wounded, then another. A third takes shrapnel to the leg but refuses evacuation. There is nowhere to evacuate to. German commanders, operating under the assumption that they are facing a reinforced American position, slow their advance. Orders are revised. Artillery is requested, then delayed due to uncertainty about friendly troop locations. In the Hürtgen Forest, hesitation is contagious. This is how small numbers change outcomes, not by defeating entire armies, but by distorting enemy perception. Throughout the day, German units reroute, probe alternate paths, and pause. Each delay compounds, timetables slip, coordination suffers. What should have been a routine movement through the forest becomes a problem that must be solved. By late afternoon, the American outpost has nearly exhausted its ammunition. The bar overheats, rifles are down to their last clips. The wounded are pale and shaken from blood loss and cold. Finally, as daylight fades, the Germans adjust. Mortar begin falling closer. Fire comes from multiple directions. The trail is no longer the only avenue of approach. The Americans receive the order to withdraw relayed by a runner who crawls the last 100 yards under fire. They pull back one by one, covering each other, dragging the wounded through mud and darkness. Just empty shell casings and disturbed earth. Behind them, German units resume movement, but hours later than planned, under the belief that American resistance in the area is stronger than it truly is. In the broader scope of the Hürtgen Forest campaign, this single action does not change the outcome. The forest will continue to claim thousands of casualties. The Rodams will not fall quickly. Winter will arrive early. But in military history, moments like this matter not for their scale, but for their clarity. 9 men did not defeat 6,000 Germans in open battle. That is not how war works. What they did was delay, confuse, and impose cost. They forced caution where speed was required. They turned terrain, training, and discipline into leverage, in a battle defined by attrition and obscurity. Their stand represents the human dimension of warfare where decisions made by a handful of soldiers, in a forgotten stretch of forest, ripple outward into operations measured in divisions. Many of the men who fought in the Hürtgen Forest never spoke about it afterward. The terrain did not lend itself to stories of glory. There were no sweeping advances. The forest has grown quiet again. Trees have reclaimed shell craters. Trails have softened. But beneath the soil, fragments remain: steel, bone, memory. The Hürtgen Forest does not announce what happened there. It waits for those willing to learn.